Telling people about goals creates a strange reaction in the brain. It gives a reward for something that hasn't been done yet. The brain gets a good feeling just from talking about the plan, from hearing people say, "That's great," or "Good luck." That good feeling is the same reward the brain should get from actually doing the work. But it arrives early, just from the announcement. And once the brain gets that reward, the drive to actually do the thing decreases. Think about it. Someone decides to start a business. They tell everyone about it, post about it, talk about their plans, get excited responses, feel accomplished. Then, nothing happens, or very little happens, because the brain already got its reward from the talking. The announcement created a feeling of completion without any actual completion. The excitement came from sharing the plan, not from executing it. And now the hard work of actually building the business feels less urgent, less exciting, because the reward already happened. This happens constantly. Someone announces they're going to lose weight, get encouragement, feel motivated, then struggle to maintain that motivation because the brain already celebrated just from making the announcement. Someone says they're writing a book. People respond positively. That feels good. Now writing the actual book feels like less of a priority because the good feeling already occurred. The brain doesn't know the difference between talking about doing something and actually doing it. Both create similar reactions. Both trigger reward responses. So when the reward comes from just talking, the brain has less reason to pursue the harder reward that comes from the actual work. And talking is so much easier than doing. Announcing takes seconds. Actually executing takes months or years. The brain prefers easy rewards over hard ones, so it keeps pushing toward more announcements, more planning, more talking, all of which provide small rewards without any real progress. This is why some people are constantly starting new things, but rarely finishing them. They get the reward from the announcement, from the excitement of beginning, from people's reaction to their plans. But then the actual work doesn't provide enough additional reward to sustain effort. The announcement trap makes people feel productive without being productive, feel accomplished without accomplishing anything, feel like they're making progress just by talking about making progress. Breaking this pattern requires understanding it, recognizing that talking about goals creates false accomplishment, that announcing plans satisfies the part of the brain that craves recognition without satisfying the part that craves real achievement. The solution is simple, but difficult. Stop announcing. Stop talking about what's going to happen. Just do the work silently. Let results speak instead of intentions. Let completion create the announcement instead of announcements preceding completion. This feels uncomfortable because announcing is fun. Getting reactions is rewarding. Sharing plans creates connection, but it also kills the drive, reduces motivation, makes the actual work feel less important than the talking about work. So the choice is clear. Get small rewards from talking or big rewards from doing. Feel accomplished from announcements or feel accomplished from achievements. Satisfy the brain with conversation or satisfy it with completion. One creates the feeling of progress. The other creates actual progress. They are not the same thing. Most people focus on the end result. Lose 30 pounds, make $1 million, run a marathon, write a book. That's the goal, the target, the outcome. And focusing on that outcome creates a problem because the outcome is far away, can't be controlled directly, depends on many factors, and provides no feedback until it's achieved. Someone wants to lose 30 pounds. That number becomes the focus. Every day, the question is, did I lose 30 pounds yet? And every day, the answer is no. For weeks or for months, the answer stays no. That creates discouragement, feels like failure, makes the goal seem impossible. But here's a different approach. Instead of focusing on losing 30 pounds, focus on being the type of person who eats healthy and exercises regularly. Instead of chasing the outcome, build the actions. The difference is massive. The outcome can't be controlled. The actions can. The outcome happens eventually. The actions happen daily. The outcome provides rare feedback. The actions provide constant feedback. Being someone who eats healthy means making good food choices today. That's measurable. That's controllable. That's achievable right now. And doing it creates immediate feedback. I ate healthy today. I'm being the person I want to be. The daily success builds momentum, creates consistency, makes the action feel natural over time. And eventually, without obsessing over the number on the scale, the 30 pounds disappears because the actions that create weight loss became automatic. This works for everything. Want to run a marathon? Don't focus on the race. Focus on being someone who runs regularly. The race becomes possible when the running becomes automatic. Want to build a business? Don't focus on the $1 million. Focus on being someone who works on the business every day. The money comes when the work becomes consistent. Want to write a book? Don't focus on finishing. Focus on being someone who writes daily. The book completes itself when writing becomes a habit. The outcome takes care of itself when the actions become identity. When someone becomes the type of person who does the thing, rather than someone trying to achieve the thing. Goals are temporary. Achieve them or don't, they eventually end. But becoming a certain type of person is permanent. It's not something to achieve once. It's something to be consistently. And that consistency is easier to maintain because it's not dependent on external results. It's dependent on internal actions. Did the work get done today? That's the only question that matters. Not, did I achieve the final goal yet? Most people fail at goals because they focus on the finishing line while ignoring the path. They want the outcome without building the actions that create it. They celebrate reaching the goal, but then return to old behaviors because the actions never became permanent. Someone loses 30 pounds through extreme effort, celebrates, then gains it back because the actions were temporary, designed only to reach the goal, not to become a lifestyle. The goal was achieved, but the person didn't change. Compare that to someone who becomes a person who eats healthy and exercises. The weight loss happens naturally and stays gone because the actions aren't temporary. They are identity. They are who the person is now. This shift in focus changes everything, from chasing outcomes to building actions, from achieving goals to becoming a certain type of person, from temporary effort to permanent change. The outcome still matters, but it's a byproduct, a natural result of consistent actions, not the focus, not the measurement of success, just something that happens when the right actions become automatic. This is why focusing on outcomes often fails, while focusing on actions succeed. Outcomes are external and distant. Actions are internal and immediate. Outcomes provide rare feedback. Actions provide daily confirmation. Outcomes depend on many factors. Actions depend on one choice at a time. Build the actions. Become the person. The outcomes will follow. But even if they don't, the person who does the work daily is still winning, because the actions themselves create the life, not just the outcomes. Most people care more about what others think than what they think about themselves. They make decisions based on approval, choose paths based on acceptance, measure success based on recognition, and that creates a major problem because other people's opinions are unreliable, constantly changing, based on limited information, influenced by their own insecurities and biases. Building a life based on approval means constantly adjusting to satisfy others, constantly performing to maintain positive reactions, constantly seeking validation to feel okay about choices. That's exhausting, and it's unsustainable because there will always be someone who disapproves, someone who criticizes, someone who thinks different choices should have been made. Trying to please everyone guarantees pleasing no one, including self, because decisions made for others rarely align with what actually matters personally. They are compromises, performances, attempts to maintain an image rather than build a real life. The solution requires a shift from caring most about others' opinions to caring most about your own opinion, from seeking external validation to developing internal respect, from performing for applause to living with integrity. This doesn't mean ignoring all feedback or pretending others' perspectives have no value. It means the primary measure of success becomes internal rather than external. Do I respect the person I'm being becomes more important than do others approve of me. That's a completely different operating system. Instead of asking, what will people think before making decisions, the question becomes, will I respect myself for this choice? Instead of celebrating when others praise, the celebration comes from knowing the work was done right, regardless of recognition. This shift is difficult because humans are social. Approval feels good. Recognition is rewarding. Criticism hurts. All of that is natural. All of that is hardwired. But natural doesn't mean optimal. The brain's desire for approval made sense when survival depended on group acceptance. But modern life doesn't require constant approval to survive. Yet the brain still craves it, still seeks it, still makes it feel necessary. Retraining that response takes time, consistent redirection, repeatedly choosing your own respect over others' approval, even when approval feels more rewarding in the moment. This means doing things that others might not understand, making choices that don't get celebrated, pursuing goals that don't impress anyone, and being okay with that. Because the internal measurement says it's right even when external feedback says it's wrong or weird or pointless. It means continuing when people criticize, when they doubt, when they suggest different paths, not because their input doesn't matter, but because their input doesn't determine the path. Only internal conviction does. This creates real freedom, not the kind that comes from having no responsibilities, the kind that comes from not needing others' permission to live a certain way, from not needing their validation to feel good about choices, from not needing their applause to feel successful. Breaking that trap requires building new measurements of success, internal ones. Did I do what I said I would do? Do I respect the choices I made? Am I living according to my values? Those questions don't depend on anyone else. The answers come from within. And when those internal answers are positive, external opinions matter less. Not because they're ignored completely, but because they're no longer the primary source of self-worth. This takes practice, lots of practice, because the pull toward validation is strong. The desire for approval doesn't disappear. The instinct to seek recognition stays present. But over time, with consistent choice, internal respect becomes the stronger force. The more decisions made based on personal values rather than others' opinions, the more natural that becomes. The more choices made that generate self-respect, the less external validation feels necessary. And eventually, a shift happens. Other people's approval becomes a bonus rather than a requirement. Nice when it comes, irrelevant when it doesn't, because the primary measurement is internal, and that measurement is the only one that actually matters for building a life worth living. Announcing goals creates false rewards that kill real motivation. The brain gets satisfaction from talking instead of doing. That satisfaction reduces drive to do actual work. So the solution is simple. Stop talking. Start doing. Let results create the announcement instead of announcements preceding results. Goals are outcomes. Actions are systems. Focusing on outcomes creates frustration because they're distant and uncontrollable. Focusing on actions creates progress because they are immediate and controllable. Becoming the type of person who does the work matters more than achieving any single goal, because the person continues after the goal ends. External validation feels good, but creates dependence. Internal respect feels harder to achieve, but creates freedom. Building a life based on others' approval means constant performance with no real satisfaction. Building a life based on self-respect means choices that actually align with values. One creates a life that looks good, the other creates a life that feels right. All three of these connect. Announcing goals seeks validation. Seeking validation creates dependence on others' opinions. Dependence on others' opinions makes focusing on daily actions difficult because actions don't get immediate applause. Breaking these patterns requires understanding them, recognizing when the brain is satisfied by talking instead of doing, recognizing when focus is on outcomes rather than actions, recognizing when decisions are based on approval rather than values, and then choosing differently. Choosing silence over announcements, choosing daily actions over distant outcomes, choosing self-respect over external validation. None of this is complicated. Talking less, doing more, building systems instead of chasing goals, respecting your own opinion more than others' approval. All of it is simple, but none of it is easy, because the brain prefers talking, goals, and validation. They're more immediately rewarding, more socially comfortable, more naturally appealing, but they create shallow progress at best, often no progress at all, because they satisfy the wrong parts of the brain, the parts that want to feel good right now rather than build something real over time. Real progress comes from work done silently, from actions repeated daily, from decisions made for internal reasons rather than external approval. The choice is clear. Feel productive or be productive. Chase outcomes or build systems. Seek validation or develop self-respect. Same decisions made daily, completely different lives created over time.